CSI. My name is Shri Shafter. I am president of the chapter. I work for Interface Engineering.
Put the microphone farther from your mouth.
These things.
Be rock star about it.
Yeah. Rockstar. So I have a couple announcements to make, and I'm going to turn it over to Erica to introduce our speakers. In May, we have our annual industry forum coming up at the Portland Art Museum. It's on May 12th. This is especially exciting because we're going to have our keynote speaker is going to be Sho Shigematsu from Oma, New York. And we will also have 6x10 speakers, a product show, hors d'oeuvres, beer and wine. It's an amazing event. I think we had close to 500 people last year. Not to be missed. It's really a great event. So that's coming up on May 12th. Tickets are available and they're selling like crazy because apparently people are really excited about seeing this architect. We also have our Portland lecture series that we've been doing. This is our second year. I think this is number 12. Number 11, it's on roofing. It's a roofing panel with members of the panel from different disciplines to be a more dynamic experience. Our lecture series is $10. It's after work. You get beer and pizza into class. It's about the best value in town to learn something. You get dinner, meet some people, and have fun. That's coming up on April 21st, only from tonight. In June is our chili kickoff. I will proudly say that my CSI Kraken team is the team to beat. We are 2-year reigning champions. We have 2 teams signed up. It's limited to 8 teams. It will be at the Lucky Lab Brewery this year on June 9th. And I challenge you to put a team together and try to take us down. And it's not just about chili, it's about theme too. So you can't just come in and make good chili, you have to be pretty darn creative. So I invite you to join us. There's some handouts on your table and in the front desk.
Tim is the man to see.
Tim? If you want to see, you can take us down. Go see Tim. Tim's been trying, he just can't get it. I would also like to take a moment to recognize some special people in the room. I'm especially fond of some of these people because they're from my firm. Portland CSI started CBT scholarships 2 years ago for emerging professionals to get younger professionals involved in the details of the project delivery process sooner. We all know that the baby boomers are heading out the door. My generation X, there's not enough to, some of you are heading out the door, sorry. Some of you are never going to leave. But my generation, there's not enough of us to fill their shoes, which means our younger professionals are going to have to step up sooner than they have ever historically done in the history of the AEC. So we're very motivated in CSI and helping them get some of the education that in the old days they'd probably be in a firm 10 or 15 years before they could get. And so we have some of our scholarship recipients here tonight. When I call your name, would you please stand up? Kristen Glanville, Jeff Glanville, Daniel Davis, Jeff Jenks, Doug Eanes, and Jessica Kaplan. Stay standing, Jessica. I happen to work with Jessica at Interface. She happens to be the first of our CDT scholarship recipients who has already taken her exam. I believe it's last Friday. And I am happy to say that she passed, and I'd like to give her a round of applause. So any of you baby boomers who aren't keeping up with current technology want to know who you're going to be working for soon, she said. I will be tweeting this event tonight. We started tweeting our meetings about 1.5 years ago, and we have CSI members across the country that follow Portland CSI and what we're doing. So your comments tonight, try not to talk too fast. We'll be going out across the country, and so in an effort to increase collaboration between our chapters and between other people in the AEC industry. The hashtag, how many people in this room are on Twitter? Yeah, a lot of you need to come to my next class. The hashtag for tonight is hashtag PDXCSI. I would love it if you would participate. Tomorrow I will put it all together into one story and tweet it out if you want to see all of the comments from tonight in one place, including previous speakers. I'll try to do it. One last thing, if you parked in the parking garage and pick up one of these little cards at the front desk on your way out, you will not have to pay for parking. So pick up one of these on your way out, and thank you, welcome. I hope to see you all again. Erica?
So there's one other event I'm going to mention because I'm in charge of it. So since I get the microphone, I get to say what I want. CSI Golf Tournament is August 27th. We sold out last year. I'm hoping to sell out again this year. It is out Lewis River. It's an incredible golf course. It's an incredible event. Just to go out, hang out, have fun, bring your clients, have a good time. There's some forums out front, or see me if you have any questions about it. But I'd love to see a lot of you guys out there. It's a really fun time. That said, I'll introduce my illustrious panelists. Thank you guys very much for listening to me whine and beg. I'm going to start with Bill Bailey, AIA partner with Walkable Architecture. Bill's 32-year career in Portland has served as a project team leader for both historic structures and just plain old-tired buildings. He has a passion for renovation and adaptive reuse of existing buildings, and believes that the act of extending the life of a building through adaptive reuse is a core value in stewardship and sustainability. Working with the Lloyd Center since 2001, Bill has led Waterleaf's design team to discover the hidden gems, the mid-century modern mammoth right here in front of in our own yard. Bill grew up in Eugene, received his Bachelor's of Architecture from the University of Oregon, and he's a member of the Gresham Planning Commission, where he serves as chair from 2009 to 2014. Serves on the board of directors for the Northwest Regional Reentry Center, a nonprofit halfway house for former prisoner offenders transitioning back to the community. He will be talking about the Lloyd Center project tonight. Next, we have Wade, CPM, RPA, FMA. I'll have to ask if those are all the same.
Those are the initials of my grandkids.
Vice President and General Manager with the Portland American Assets Trust. Serves as the Vice President and Regional Manager for the Portland area, overseeing operations and development. Prior to joining American Assets Trust in February of 2013, he served as the Vice President and Property Manager of Langley Investment Properties in Ashforth Pacific from 1997 to 2013. Primary responsibility for the Lloyd properties now owned by American Assets Trust. Also worked for Oregon State Legislature as a facility manager for the state capitol and as the maintenance manager for the U.S. corporate headquarters here in Portland. He is a native to Portland and received his Bachelor's of Science degree in Social Science from Portland State University. Michael Gray, Lead AP, Managing Principal with Ingram Moyson Architects. Michael has worked both in architecture industry and with Ingram Moyson Architects for 13 years. In that time, he has served as lead designer on a number of projects and became a managing principal on Ingram Moyson's office team. Michael is an architect who thrives on the challenges of any design problem. He enjoys the process of discovering the solutions through exploration of outside-the-box thinking and collaborative with colleagues on other designs and disciplines. He believes stretching the expectations of the client and others is critical to any innovation, design, and process. Thank you, guys. We're going to hold the questions. We're going to let each one of them go through their presentation, and then at the end of everybody, we'll go through and ask questions and kind of pass the mic around. So raise your hand, and Ellen and I will jump around the room and take your questions. Bill, we're going to start with you.
I'm Bill Bailey, as the introduction so graciously had. I do want to point out that I really enjoy old buildings. I really enjoy doing the work it's for me, what motivates is the before and after picture to see how it's doing. And Lloyd Center is a great before picture right now. I represent a team here that's actually represented by many of you here. Civil, we've got the Humber Design Group, Greenworks for landscape, DCI for structural, Luma for lighting, and PAE for the mechanical, electrical, and plumbing. Bottom line, to know Lloyd Center is to love it. And some of that is looking back at what we had to do is figure out how it got there in the first place. Without getting into too much history, the Lloyd District was envisioned by a gentleman named Ralph Lloyd. And he made his money in oil in California, and by the 20s, he pretty much bought out the Holidays edition and had a vision to change the center of Portland to the east side of the river. So a lot of what you see today in the Lloyd District was his vision and carried out by his children. Actually, he died before projects like this could be built. The Lloyd Center was built in 1960, and so it's had major renovations over time, and as it's grown up, Portland has grown around it and is in a huge point today. It's a behemoth. It takes up about 15 city blocks and is kind of the definition of a super block. Originally it had open air and was the largest mall in the United States when it was built. It was a prototype for what we know today to be and what has evolved into regional shopping centers. And so what it is today and where it came when our client Cypress Equities out of Dallas purchased the building. Waterleaf has been working since the 70s in the building. And actually, my partner Tom worked for the Lloyd family. So we've been through and seen 5 different owners come through the Lloyd Center. And so as we connected with the new purchasers, Cypress Equities and Cap Reef out of Dallas, we first sat down and talked about first impressions. They like the mall because of its location. They love the mall because of the neighborhood and what's happening. They see the growth out of the connections to transit and where Portland is going with the bicycles. And so, in other words, an evolution from a regional shopping mall that is automobile-oriented to something that can react to the community and the neighborhood. They also noticed right in front of it is this incredible park that's right across the street here, Holiday Park. And I'll talk about that in a little bit, but they were looking more than just the mall as an asset itself. They were looking at how to leverage all of the pieces in the neighborhood. And so with the development that's going on with the American Asset Trust and the affluence, frankly, of the neighborhood, there's everything is set up to succeed. Lloyd has had an incredible track record of occupancy as far as retail centers go. It's had a 90 to 98% occupancy when Cap Reef bought the building. So it performs very well. The thing is, local residents don't use it. So what we first looked at is the fact that it's an internal mall and has been oriented interior. Over its history with the roof put on in 1989 and parking garages added onto, it really turned internally focused. How many of you have had challenge to get into the mall in the first place? So one of the things they looked at is we identified 7 phases of projects that could happen over time. And these projects were almost too encompassing. I mean, and so John Fainer with our client with the Cypress Equities saying, well, how do you eat this elephant? And it's one bite at a time. So We started with a few little bites last year. We took the north side of the mall along Halsey Street, big blank facade, and started opening up the mall out there. There had been some earlier efforts to do it that the previous owner has been doing, but now Cap Reef is starting to walk the walk. Other entrances, and this is where we started discovering some pieces from the 50s, some high-quality pieces. The entrance from Halsey Street, underneath that tile facade, is a high-quality terrazzo precast portal. And so we've opened that back up. And so we're finding all of these little pieces, these remnants from the 50s that we're taking advantage of. And some of the dark entrances in the parking structures, working to open those up, open the entries, have the beacons at the portions to celebrate those entrances. But really what I want to talk about are the two big projects coming up, which is one, we just got through design review on the exterior. That's a celebration. Is all of the Multnomah frontage. Multnomah has that frontage that addresses the park. It has the area that is the super block where the cinema is located right now. That is slated for more development coming up. It's probably one of the most developable sites in town. So it's got all of these connections that can happen. But I do want to talk about the park. Cypress has been a sponsor of the initiative of the Portland Holiday Park Partnership, and along with the other stakeholders in the neighborhood, have been working to change the impression that Holiday Park is a dangerous place by sponsoring programs and staffing and rangers and activities. The idea is you add people to the park to make it safer, and then our project connects back to the park. And so so by working with nonprofits set up with Portland Parks to do this initiative, these are all things that's piloted programs last summer, and it'll be continuing this summer. But Multnomah frontage, always car-oriented. And today it is kind of this vast pedestrian void space. Dark spaces, it has the impression of safety. The number one entrance to the mall, the one that most people use, is the entrance over here, which is Macy's West entrance. And it's continuing on that frontage. This is the entrance. So again, I love the before and after pictures. And so as we look at those pieces, we now look at what can we do to connect the neighborhood, to connect to the park, to provide something that says entrance on the mall. So we're cleaving the building. Unheard of in retail is we're taking GLA away from the mall. We're creating a series of spaces that connect Multnomah and the park back to the core of the mall, where there are some wonderful things that we're doing on the interior. But so we still have the two entrances to Macy's. They'll still have their prominence, but we're setting it apart and creating a pedestrian plaza. And so this work will also support the park, and that there will be a covered area here too, that as things are programmed for the park, this is a paved plaza space that can both be programmed in parallel as well as support rainy day pieces, because there's a major part of this that's rain protected. And as one gets closer to the interior, and the main entrance will be doing programming for a restaurant and seating, outdoor activities. And so just a quick review, the orientation is now going sideways, but we're cutting the opening all the way back with 3 plaza spaces, a forecourt, an activity space, and an entrance plaza at the north end. Just some quick things, existing finishes, some of which are our legacy that we can reuse, and others we work with. The corrugation and the wood slats are a big piece that we carry through in some of the design concepts. And again, some of these are straight from the design commission, so they're big plaza finishes and materials. Stormwater, we had a lot of work to do with DES and the city, and especially when you're cutting the space out of an existing building and putting it over the top of basement below. And so dealing with stormwater, we worked with DES and the Humber Design Group allowed us to, or had an idea of intercepting stormwater off of Macy's roof and treating it as a trade-off. And so we were working through those areas, and just the character of some of the plantings that will be part of that. The other piece of the outside work is we're infilling and creating new retail space in front of the Macy's anchor. So these will be small retail spaces oriented towards the park, and we're in negotiations with Macy's right now to have them reestablish their center entrance, and then working with the neighborhood to establish a crosswalk, a mid-block crosswalk between the park and the front of Macy's. So, it being a regional mall, automobiles are important client resource. So, branding the parking structures and updating those as well to you have a clear path to get people in. Working through infilling Moldoma. This is the first step. It's actually planned to do more infills along the parking structure. The next piece is the interior of the mall. Here is the second big idea. Right now, the mall is a mixture of what we've described as visual noise. Originally, it actually had a very clear nature to it when it was an outdoor mall. The structure was clear, paths were clear, it had some wonderful amenities in it. Take a look at, and you'll see how we're rediscovering some of these elements. So today there's a lot of clutter. And so our goal is to clarify it, bring it back to some of its mid-century roots, and clean up some of the ornament that's been added and clarify it. This is a proposal in kind of a nighttime shot. On the concourse there, from what we had previously, the structure, there are precast terrazzo columns that are behind gypboard enclosures. And so we're taking those and exposing them where we find them, and redoing the lighting and redoing the interior finishes and cleaning up all the surfaces, making it very straightforward and clear. The center court area, right now the ice rink is offset and it's under many levels and many bridges. So the center court, while the ice rink being at the end of its useful life, it's got the same equipment it did 55 years ago, and is now opportunity to redevelop it. We are not getting rid of the ice rink. The wall is the last vestige of ice rink in the mall, in a regional mall. So what we are doing is we are reshaping it, redeveloping it, moving it towards center court. And so today, the image of the ice rink with all these levels and overhangs is now going to be cleaned up with clear elliptical balconies that form it and pulling it as the center of the heart of the mall. We're finding a heart in the mall. The other thing is it makes it comprehensible. You'll be able to stand in the mall and you'll be able to see that there's an east wing, an east concourse. Right now, you could go down one concourse and think it ends at the ice rink. So it's one of those kind of functional things as well. The other big idea is to take things people remember about the mall. The spiral staircase. My partner Dick Ongerud has a senior picture from Grant High School taken on that staircase. And so to come back and create another iconic element, and this one placed at the hinge where the new entrance to the new core of the mall are, and that's going to be kind of a sculptural piece that is a center part of the design. And so, like I told when I was asked, I said, well, I have the 5-minute, I have the 20-minute, and I've got the 1-hour presentation. And so you've seen those kind of slides, and so we are slated to start construction as soon as the last check sheet is in on the interior. And the exterior work, we're going through some adjustments of the construction drawings, reflecting design review, and that work will happen after January 15th, the retail blackout period. So, and all of the mall will remain open through construction. Most of the work will be done at night. A lot of hand-holding with the tenants is going to happen. And so it's going to be quite an exciting step in construction.
So, remember what Bill said about the Lloyd District, because it will actually feed in probably to all of our presentations as far as the vision for the district as a whole. And what we're doing, I'm going to show you some visions of things to come. At least I was going to, but if you step outside and look west, you'll see all of this coming up out of the ground. And we'll actually be opening our first building July 2nd to move tenants in. We're in pre-leasing right now, so anybody that's interested, I'll stay afterwards. So I'm going to show you a few slides, go through them rather quickly. It's been a very visible project over the last year, and it's definitely taken form now, and we're getting a lot of interest in this. And I've got to thank GBD architects who are here hopefully for my moral support. I'm using their slides for the most part in the presentation. They put this together, and it really speaks well of what our vision is. So when Bill mentioned the Lloyd District and this vision of a separate downtown on the east side, and really creating a whole different place in the city of Portland. One of the things that we find lacking right now in the Lloyd District is people that live here. The feeling about the park, very true. If you look at crime statistics, it doesn't hold up. It's a very safe park. People have a fear about that park, and they have a fear because people aren't there after dark because people don't live here after dark. So what we're doing, what GBD has designed for us, and what we're bringing to the Lloyd District is a neighborhood. So American Assets Trust owns that 14 blocks, contiguous blocks of space. There's 3 super blocks, 2 floor blocks, 1 6 block. The north blocks are owned in a condominium relationship with Pacific Core, and we hope to develop that as our phase 3. We'll talk about phase 2 a little bit at the end of my presentation. But right now we're going to talk about the site that is called Hasslo on 8th, and we gave Whiting and Kennedy a huge sum of money to come up with that name. And it's iconic though, because what we're doing, what we've recognized is one of the problems with the Lloyd District, and now one of the opportunities, is the Lloyd District is made up of super blocks, multiple blocks joined together with the street grid taken away. We've brought the street grid back at Hasslo and 8th. So that intersection that hasn't existed for decades now will be a place where people can meet and gather and have a good time. So there's the site. It's 4 blocks. We're actually developing 3 blocks. The 4th block is the Lloyd 700 building, which is a 270,000 square foot office building that's been there since 1970 and developed by the Lloyd family. So our vision was really to create a vibrant neighborhood. We would say a new neighborhood, but there really isn't one in the Lloyd District. So we're creating a neighborhood, a vibrant neighborhood. And as nature on its doorstep, the Lloyd District is a eco-district, and a lot of people don't know what that is. I'm president of the Lloyd Eco-District. I don't quite know what that is. But to GBD's credit, they recognized an opportunity, and they're talking to developers in San Diego, and how many people have been to San Diego? It's not the greenest city there is. They wanted to come up and build apartments, and I credit GBD with really sharing a vision of what an eco-district can do to a development. And so that's what we're creating as part of our neighborhood. And And what are we going to attract in that neighborhood? We're really looking at 3 demographics, which really cover just about everybody in the city that we think will enjoy living here. We have the empty nesters, the urban families, and the young professionals, some call them hipsters. I don't, because I wouldn't recognize one if I saw one. But what we hope to do is be a very diverse neighborhood and a real community, and a community within an eco-district that really ties the community together. And I think with the work that Bill's doing at the Lloyd Center Mall is a huge step in connectivity back to the community that hasn't existed in a long time. So a few things about the development. It's 657 market rate for rent apartments. No condos. We don't do condos. These are all apartments. We have 592,000 gross feet of housing, and we have retail. We actually have about 58,000 square feet of retail. We hope to land an anchor grocery store. We feel very strongly that it's hard to have a neighborhood without a neighborhood grocery store. And we're getting close. No grand announcement tonight, except maybe I'm going to run for president, but I'll put it. But grocery store is huge in our neighborhood vision. And then the office building that I mentioned. The thing a lot of people don't know is we have 3 levels of subterranean parking for about 1,200 cars. And a lot of apartments going up in the city don't have any parking associated with it. So we're providing for parking, and actually we've just started pre-leasing. We've signed 9 leases, and all 9 are bringing cars. But we think that there's a chance that over half of the people living here will not have a car, will not want a car, and will not need a car once they move in here. So this is what it was, August of, 2013, that it looked like this. And in about 2 more months, it's going to look like this. We're going fast and furious. We closed the MAX station at 7th Avenue about a year ago, and we're going to open it May 4th. We're finishing that side of the construction now, so we're getting there. So this building right here, we've named them, and you had a pointer. Where's mine? Okay, the building down here in the corner, the green roof.
There's a pointer.
Oh, were you pointing with that? Okay, there you go. This is Bellamore. We've named each of the buildings. The whole project is Hassalo on 8. This is the Bellamore building. And this will open for residents July 2nd. This one is the Elwood building, and this we hope to open mid-September, and the Astor Tower will open late September. So we're going to be moving a lot of people in here in a very short period of time. So that's what has been created. So these are some of the views. This is looking down 8th Street, which is a pedestrian throughway, and we're looking south at the state office building. You can see in the foreground the trickle filters, and that's part of NORM, which is our natural organic recycling machine. We have a wastewater treatment facility on site, so all wastewater will be recycled and reused on site. We estimate about 60,000 gallons a day will be diverted from the sewer system. And any that's not used on site will be pumped back into the aquifer. So this is looking south. This is looking from Nordstrom's back west, and that's the corner where we hope to have a grocery store in the Elwood building there. And then this is looking at the Astor Tower, and this is actually from the point of view of the EPA building, looking back at the tower. And this is a shot from actually, that's Holiday Street running along the foreground there, again looking down 8th Street, which we've called Water Avenue because we're going to do a lot of our stormwater mitigation along there. And you'll be able to walk down Water Avenue and actually see the kind of the rising and lowering of the tide with the seasons as we work our stormwater magic on site there. And this is a plaza area that was created so that we can have, during the day, the office people will come down and enjoy lunches and breaks there. and maybe some programming that we do, and then in the evening we'll program for the residents, and they'll enjoy that as a place to get outside and do some stuff. And this is Hasslo Street. Now Hasslo is going to be opened up to two-way traffic, going both east and west, but it's truly more of a pedestrian throughway in a lot of respects. Cars are going to go slow. There's a large speed bump there at 8th, and we'll have parking along Hasslo as well, but limited. And it'll be more of an environment for the pedestrian than the car, but we will have that access coming through. So again, here's our view of what it was and what it's going to be. Now, if you look just to the south there, that next 4 blocks, that is what we call Phase 2. And we haven't come up with enough money for White and Kennedy to have it named yet. so we're just going to call it Phase 2 for now. Right now it's called the Oregon Square blocks. It's 4 2-story buildings that were built in the 1940s as government buildings. And if all goes well on Phase 2, you can see Phase 1, Phase 2 is directly to the south. It will be a 4-block development. Currently we're looking at 4 high-rise apartment buildings with about, where we stand now, about 1,037 units, 1,100? 950. So again, we're going to increase the density by quite a bit. And what I have here is a conceptual, and we're kind of going down this road, and we've got much better pictures now that GBD has created, but that's really for a different presentation. That's not because I want to steal our thunder. And so I'll share this one with you, which is, the 4 blocks. We're going to use the corners to put our apartment buildings on, and in the center create a very large, would be determined about 100,000 square feet of public plaza area. So we want to program that. We want that to be activated for the residents, certainly, but also the district and the city at large, with a lot of programming that goes on there. Right now, the Lloyd District does not have a city park within its boundaries. Now, Holiday Park is a great old city park, but it actually belongs to the Sullivan's Gulch neighborhood. It's in the Lloyd District, but they claim it is theirs. So we really don't have something we can call our own in the Lloyd District, and we want this plaza to really be representative of a very special place in the district that people are going to use and energize and go. So I just wanted to close. I mean, that's the end of my slides, but a few things when we talk about the blending of an eco-district and a development, and that's one of the things we formed the eco-district for, is to really spur sustainable development. So within the Hassalo on 8th development, I got to read this because there's a whole list of things, but we're right on the Mack stop, we're right on the streetcar stop, with a major bike thoroughfare going down Multnomah and coming across 7th. We've got the major bus lanes coming through the district as well. We're a 10-minute walk to the river. We're about a 15-minute walk to the west side of Portland. Entertainment Rose Quarter is 5 minutes away. The regional mall is 2 minutes away. If you get the lights right, you get there in 1 minute. Go Lloyd is the Transportation Management Association for the district, and they have done an incredible job of pulling people out of their cars that they drive to work alone on and putting them in other modes of transportation. We're going to have a street front retail space for our Go Lloyd organization to continue that effort to get people out of their cars and start using other forms of transportation. Right now, the Lloyd District has the highest percentage of bicycle commuters in the city, but we want to grow it. And so to that end, Hassalo on 8th will have over 1,000 racks for bicycle parking. We're going to create a district bicycle hub, not just for the residents, not just for the tenants in the office buildings, but for the entire district to come park their bikes. We'll have shower, locker facilities, bicycle valet, repair services, storage. We're also going to have bicycle charging stations because apparently some people can't pedal and they have battery-powered bikes. And handicap bicycle and cargo bicycle parking as well. We're going to have electric vehicle charging stations. We have potential of up to 36 charging stations in our 3 levels of garage, as well as additional parking for energy or for fuel efficient vehicles. We talked about the wastewater recycling that we're going to do. We're going to treat all the water and use it back in the toilets, the irrigation, and the HVAC as makeup water, and then the rest goes back into the aquifer. Stormwater, we got eco roofs that are going to capture stormwater as well, and air quality, low VOCs on all of the interiors. We're going to kind of burn everything out before we move everybody in. But we've used products and materials that we can find locally as much as possible to mitigate the transportation impacts there. All the units have operable windows. There's an energy we're trying to get 25 to 30% below standard code required energy savings, and just on and on with all of these things that we're doing. That we're really excited about the project, not only from the fact that we're creating something new and vibrant, but we've created something really special in its connection back to a sustainable community. We're really excited about that. So again, we're leasing and we're ready to take orders. So thank you very much.
My name is Michael Gray, I think from Moisen. I also wanted to talk again about the Lloyd District and another super block. We've been hearing a lot about them in the last 2 presentations, so here's another one. It's definitely part of the character of this neighborhood, so it's something we've been dealing with as a design team as well. I'm also just one piece of this pie here, so just wanted to, give a little nod to some of the other team members. Metro is a huge part of this project, as well as Mortensen Construction and Development, Schlesinger's, ESG Architects out of Minneapolis, and then Mayor Reed locally here in Portland. And of course, Hyatt will be the operator. So here's just a little bit of the site analysis that we've been looking at. I think, Wade, you were touching on this a little bit, and maybe I can give these to GBD and work these into the presentation, because I think you guys were talking a lot about this. But I know we've been talking a lot about it too, and just how, how this neighborhood gets connected to the rest of the city. Again, it's made up of a lot of different super block components, Moda Center, Oregon Convention Center, Lloyd District, and all the things we've been hearing about. I think, we've viewed our project as a little bit of a gateway component to the neighborhood, in the sense that, I-5 is kind of directly adjacent, and, it can be kind of a marker for the neighborhood and really kind of declare the neighborhood to people and passersby, which we're kind of excited about. But then, there are all these other connections that, have been mentioned, and we've been looking at them, pretty closely. So, the hotel itself here and the adjacent parking garage, is how that connects to the Oregon Convention Center, to Multnomah and these other projects that we've been talking about, the park, and then also the MAX station and how that impacts the design, and just how the context starts to drive some of the massing and the architecture itself. So we've kind of looked at this as basically 4 projects in one. The Reimagined Convention Center Plaza at MLK and Holiday, and then Holiday as a green street, which we've heard a little bit about, but just talking about improvements to that street. And then the parking garage is a huge component, so we have 385 parking stalls dedicated essentially to the hotel. And then the 600-room convention center hotel at about 450,000 gross square feet. So it's a lot of building. So, you know, in some ways, we're lucky to have the super block to get it all to fit. So here we are with those kind of 4 parts. So the plaza here, which is being redeveloped by Mayor Reed, and then the hotel itself here, and then the parking garage across Second with the adjacent Green Street down Holiday, which will also have some improvements. And I brought this just to show a little bit of the, again, just some of the context that we're looking at. So, you know, Mayor Reed has developed the new Oregon Convention Center Plaza. There's been a lot of ambiguity since this has been built with, you know, how do you get into the convention center? There are doors here, but you actually can't go in them. So there's been a lot of discussion about how this gets reinvented so that, you know, the MLK statue remains, but it really does pull you down the 2 streets. So down Holiday to the underutilized northern entry to the convention center, and then one of the main entries to the convention center to the south, down MLK. So, you know, we've been looking at this as we start to develop our adjacent plaza and, you know, the hotel facade along Holiday, and then also just how we work in, you know, the ideas that are being developed for the Green Street and the redevelopment of Holiday itself. So a lot of different context. And then again, you know, really diving into that plaza, trying to understand how this is starting to work and be designed, and how we, you know, sister to that and really create, again, kind of a vibrant place at this corner, at this intersection. So that's where we're just starting to dive into this. You'll see some outdoor seating for the adjacent restaurant, lobby, and bar for the hotel, and then the plaza and open space here, adjacent to a pretty interesting market program that Hyatt's been looking at. They've used in some of their other hotels, which is really based on local goods, local food. I think they are really driving a lot of that. They're really interested in really digging into what Portland is about, the character of Portland, and really expressing that through the hotel, which, you know, I think we were all glad to hear. As we kind of dig into a little bit of the hotel itself, these are some of the things from a design standpoint that we were interested in really looking into and making sure that we were tackling through the process as a team. So big one here is, you know, improve the nature of the public realm, really kind of create a place, focus our efforts on the first 40 feet of the hotel, and embrace the Portland personality. Create relationships between the hotel program and the adjacent outdoor spaces, a vibrant hotel that works, and, you know, a big one here being a catalyst for the neighborhood, which, you know, there's a lot going on here already. Hopefully we can just, you know, add to that activity, and then complement the existing programs that are happening at the Oregon Convention Center, and, you know, hopefully get more conventions here, hopefully bring the NBA All-Star game here, you know, that kind of stuff. So I think it's all really good stuff. And then we asked ourselves as a design team a couple of questions too, which were, you know, what makes a uniquely Portland Hyatt? I think that's been a question going around town a little bit. And, you know, how do we embrace that? And then how do we create a symbiotic relationship between the hotel and the Oregon Convention Center? That's really how this thing all works. So as we started really looking at it and thinking about the site, being adjacent to the Oregon Convention Center and the spires that we've all come to love as an icon in the city, you know, we wanted to make sure that we respected those, and we didn't take any energy away from them. So, you know, the other thing we noticed is that those spires bring you to the neighborhood, but once you're in the neighborhood, there's not much for you to do as of yet. I think a lot of these projects are going to change that, but right now there is no there. And so, you know, we look to our project as being the only thing we can control as being something there. And so this is what we started talking about as a design team, is that, you know, the spires are here, our building, our project, the hotel really needs to be about the shoes, not the hat. You know, I think that's kind of an interesting thing about Portland in some ways, is that we're not, you know, like a lot of other cities that really embrace or brag about our towers. It's really about the streetscape and what it's like to the character of each street in our city. And so I think we wanted to make sure that the hotel embraced that and created a place of the street. So this is kind of a diagram that we put together just to start to show those contextual impacts and how it started to shape the massing of that first 40 feet. So here you can see the hotel podium here, and then the garage podium to the west. And then a lot of the existing factors that are kind of adjacent to that. So you have the new Oregon Convention Center plaza that's being designed here now, and then the existing Max stop, bus stop here, and then of course there's some new retail going in the neighborhood just adjacent to our site. So just trying to be respectful to all of that from a massing standpoint. And then also that underutilized northern entry that I mentioned earlier, making sure the hotel embraced that as well and tried to improve the activity happening there. And hopefully, I think once the hotel's built, this will become a more prominent entry to the convention center. We also have some retail pieces here underneath the parking garage. And then making sure that we didn't ignore MLK. So, one big move here is really pulling that, in this case, the market program right to the street, making sure we were creating an urban edge here. I think, this entire neighborhood has, throughout the 60s and 70s, it wasn't about urban edges, it was about parking lots. And I think that's starting to change, and so, we were very cognizant of that. And then when it came to the tower, the idea being that it really was a quiet tower, and that we let the spires kind of be the thing in the neighborhood that still remained an icon, and we didn't try to overshadow that in any way. However, we were very interested in looking to kind of the typical Portland 200-foot block structure and making sure that the tower at least gave a nod to that kind of historical block. So you can see here in this quick rendering just how that tower kind of looks behind those spires. So making sure it remains a backdrop to the spires. And then some other pieces is, the program and how the internal layouts of the hotel work. It's a lot to pack in, actually, into the super block, believe it or not. And we were very interested in making sure as much of that program was pushed to the edges as we could. Again, just trying to embrace the context of the neighborhood, making sure that we were activating those edges. So this is a diagram that, we talked a lot about, just trying to get those spaces to the edge. And then again, trying to see how that started to look on the exterior. So we have some feature program, which, is a lot of the amenity spaces, restaurant spaces, bar spaces, that kind of thing. And then connector spaces, which can be some of the pre-function space. And then a lot of the public areas here, so the market, restaurant, office space, and retail. And then just starting to really dig into what kind of the architecture of this project could be. So trying to be, again, reflective of place, talking a lot about the Pacific Northwest and what that means. I think, one thing that struck me was that, as ESG came to town and we were really talking about this project, just the perspective that a lot of people coming to this hotel aren't from Portland. And they may not even be from Oregon, maybe their first visit here. And so thinking about it with kind of a beginner's mind in the sense of, I've lived here my entire life, so I take a lot of things for granted. But if you're from a different city, you may not really understand what Portland or Oregon is all about. So how does the hotel start to express that in its architecture, which is something we're just starting to dig into. And again, just looking at the different streets and how they impact the facades and the layout of the internal workings of the hotel. So I'll go through these pretty quickly, but we looked a lot at there are 5 entries to this hotel, and how they're each a little bit different and unique, and then how they're relating to their adjacent street edges. And then what's happening around, there's, again, there's a lot kind of going on in this neighborhood, and you start really digging into it and you start diagramming it out. A lot of pedestrian connections, you know, you got the major bike lanes, bus connections, light rail, of course, and then how, you know, how are automobiles going to travel around the site, you know, with the porte cochere and valet and all that. So there's a lot of activity happening, and we wanted to make sure we were accommodating all that. And then tying that to the internal workings of the hotel in some way that made sense, and connects back again to, you know, the major Oregon Convention Center North entry, back to MLK, and to the Block A development that's under construction right now. And then, you know, how does that start to work with some of the internal program? And, you know, how can we maintain visual connections through the building? We have a pretty narrow massing here, dictated by the block. How do we leverage that? And then how do we start to lay out some of these larger rooms in such a way that we're not pulling activity off the edges? This is another one of the main entries here along Holiday, connecting back to that northern entry. And then these are some of the upper floors. So trying to get some of that pre-function space and meeting rooms, again, to the edge. You see that here as well. And then this diagram is just, again, just to show that offset, to create that 200-foot block relationship. And then these are a couple of views of where we are currently in the design. And you can start to see how those interior spaces start to relate to the architecture itself. You know, we do have, there's a lot happening on these edges with restaurants and pre-function and all that, but there's also some, you know, there's kitchen program, and there's some other things that, you know, we're gonna have to deal with on the exterior and make active in some way. So you see here again the market and the plaza relationship. This is Hasslo with the porte cochere. Block A is here. There's a lot of activity happening here. I think, you know, it could be a really vibrant and exciting place with, you know, all the people coming in and out through the porte cochere and the buses and loading and all that. This is along Multnomah. And then this is the major view, kind of looking up Holiday, or east down Holiday. See the main ballroom here, and the parking garage is just to the left. So again, we're pretty early in this process. We've gone through the second DAR with the city, and we've gone through another DAR in about a month. So anyway, that's about it. Went through it fairly quickly, but.
Could each of you just say what the dollar value of your projects is total?
Right now, the two projects at Lloyd Center are about $20 million, and there's an additional $15 million going in an energy upgrade project, which is a central utility plant that's to cut carbon emissions in the mall.
Ours is 162 million, and on budget.
Well, Mike knows the answer to this one, but we're around 120. So.
Any other questions?
A rough dollar per foot in rent you're looking to obtain on the apartments on Hassalo and 8?
Let me refer to my notes. It's interesting. We have about 90 different types of apartments, so, and we're pricing them all based on what each one offers. The average rent right now is set at about $2.30 a square foot, and that's gonna change. We're watching market conditions daily. So, but right now that's where we are.
What is the unit mix?
studio, 1 bedroom, 1 bedroom with den, 2 bedroom, 1 bath, 2 bedroom, 2 bath, 3 bedroom, 2 bath, some with terraces, some without. What else? So quite a mix.
Any other questions?
As far as the hotel, is there going to be, it's all from the hotel, the parking garage, it's across the surface and to the convention center, so across the train tracks, there's no overhead or subterranean or?
Yeah, no sky bridges or anything like that. Yeah, we haven't really talked about that necessarily. I think the idea is to get people on the street and go back and forth between those two major buildings. So,
But it rains here.
yes, it does.
Gentle rain.
Yes, it does.
I'm just curious, as each of your projects is addressing sustainable and natural elements, in your conversations with your clients and as you look at the project, did you talk about lifespan and replacement cycles for your projects? Are these, for instance, are these 20-year buildings, 30-year buildings?
Well, for us, as owners, we're long-term holders. So our chairman is 75 years old, and his plan is to be around a long time and to hold these a long time. He made the comment that he regrets selling any of his real estate holdings. As he thinks as an owner, the value is in holding them. So our goal is long-term hold, and I don't know what the lifespan of our buildings will be, but we hope to be the owners of those as long as they're standing.
As for the hotel, I expect that Hyatt expects to own this for quite a while. So our expectation is that, yeah, we would definitely plan for it to be a long-term building for sure.
As far as the mall goes, the retail world is kind of fickle. That it's very fashion-oriented, that, and you can see that through the history of the mall that there's been cycles at Lloyd Center. I mean, there was the initial groundbreaking design in 1960, and then it had fallen out of favor with competition from Washington Square and Clackamas and other regional malls. And in 1989, in order to compete, they did the cover over the top to make it fully weather enclosed and those kind of things. And so we saw a refresh of the finishes again in 2006, and here we are in 2015 doing a refresh of the finishes again, and then some of these major design incursions. So retail is, if you can get 15 years out of an image, it's not necessarily, I mean, at the same time, Lloyd has a history and life cycle. They've got many of their systems that, again, go back to the 50s, and so, or 59 when it was built. And in 89 when the mechanical systems went in. And so they're now doing another refresh of those systems to support it. So we're looking to get, and through design, a longer life cycle and something that can endure. So systems-wise is much longer than necessarily the retail fashion portion of it. So, so we're trying to put something in there that will have a 20-year type of cycle before it needs to refresh, and then hopefully the refresh is just a finishing step.
Any other questions? I have one about the mall, because I'm a native. That mall was where I went when I was a kid at Christmas time. Is part of it taking the roof back off? Because I hated the fact it went on.
Well, no, the skylight and everything is being retained. I think the outdoor pedestrian plaza from the south is kind of a hint back. It's got storefronts and is opening out onto the outdoor piece. So there'll be an attempt to have a more direct outdoor connection to the core of the mall.
What's the schedule on the hotel?
Schedule. Not really the schedule guy, but I can tell you that, you know, we're, again, working through the design review process with the city right now, and, you know, hopefully we'll have, you know, drawings buttoned up, you know, mid next year or so. So, you know, and we're trying to fast track it as fast as we can. But it's been around for a long time, so I think we're excited to get it going, get it built. I think as a lot of people are. So we're kind of moving as fast as we can.
Anyone else? Well, thank you, gentlemen. Thank you very much. And thank you, everyone, for making this event. I think this is one of the biggest ones we've had in a while, so thank you, everybody, for coming. I hope we'll see you at the next one. If you have any questions about any of our events or things coming up, please check the website or hunt one of us down, and we're happy to